Hey everyone, this is David Pisa, and here's my Module 4 Explain Loops video. For my video, I wanted to try to implement what we learned and create multiple shapes and simple collage, which is the scanner class and the simple collage method, which, putting the same copy of pictures multiple times. Shout out to Tom, by the way, for helping me with this idea. So let me just run my code and show you what it does exactly, so you have a better understanding as I go through my code. So when I compile and when I run, it automatically asks for user input, and you could read pick a number between 1 and 4 to make each copy brighter. So here I'll just choose 3. And when you enter, you get another input, or it asks for another user input. And here it says change RGB value by choosing a number between 35 and 55. And I'll just choose 45. And this will pop up, which will allow you to choose any picture you desire. Well, almost any picture. And here's my code. So here we got 3 pictures, just like I asked. And it changes each copy brighter and brighter. So the code works perfectly. So yeah, that's what my code does. And here, let me break it down for you real quick. So here is my method to make the filter brighter. And real quick, let me give a brief definition of a for loop, just in case anyone is still like a little unclear about what it does. For loops are fundamental aspects of every programming language, and you can expect to use multiple for loops in future programs that you're going to write. In a standard or a more basic for loop, they usually have 3 things inside of its parameters. For loops automate a task a set amount of times, right? So let me break it down. So like I said, for loops have 3 things inside its parameters, or like a standard or more basic one. First is declaring a variable. As you can see here, on in my nested for loops, I've declared more than 1 variable. I've declared 2 in each for loop. Next, after the semicolon, you have a set of conditions, right? You set a condition, which is index is less than or equal to count. And in the next, after the semicolon, is where you increment your variable. And we execute the code inside of the statement blocks or curly braces this amount of times, which happens to be determined by the user input, which was what we saw when I ran the code, right? When it asks to pick a number between 1 and 4, that's what's going to be here. I guess I should explain my parameters. So here, inside my parameters, it has 3 arguments: picture P, int count, and int brightness. So picture P is just grabbing the picture. Int count is going to be asking the user input, how many times how many copies do they want, and the int brightness, it's gonna, depending on what the user asked for, which is the second user input, it's gonna make the either picture brighter or not as bright, right? And you can see down here, that's where all the magic happens. For the brightness, it's setting each brightness or adding on to the brightness times index. And here, let me move on to while loops. While loops, while you're not really sure how long it's going to go for, so you do something based on a condition. And I think that's the difference between while loops and for loops in case of use cases, I guess. So you do something based on a condition, right? Just remember, anything you do with a while loop, you can do with a for loop. That being said, they do have different use cases in terms on where they're most useful. So let me just break down what my code is doing. So while this statement is true, which is right here, you see me just asking for user input, or what's going to pop up on the screen. It's going to get an int variable input, and here I apply the if statement in my while loop, and if this condition is true, then the while loop will break. But if they do not satisfy this condition, then this will automatically show up, and you'll be stuck in that loop until you enter a number that is greater or equal to 1 and a number that is less than or equal to 4. You can't use you can't put true into the while statement unless you have a break somewhere, or else you're stuck in an infinite loop. So that's what that is. It's the same thing down here. While this is true, it's gonna ask for another int variable input, and if they satisfy this condition, then you will break out of the loop. But if you do not satisfy this condition, then this will come up on the screen, and then the while loop will loop until you break out of it. And here, let me just show you an example. So here they ask you to pick a number between 1 and 4 to make each copy brighter. If I put 5, it says number has to be between 1 and 4. Pick a number between 1 and 4 to make each copy brighter. And that is the true and the break system coming in there. So until I put a number between 1 through 4, it will keep on looping. You see, if I put 3, then I break out of the loop into the next question. And this is my code. Thanks, guys.